Louisville is Colorado. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel, smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this college football Rebel Outpost football channel with a donation. Hit the $ where you make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room, with your phone calls later in the show, we have got ourselves a stacked show today, Wednesday, August 7th. Greg the Gold is making his official predictions against the spread. 2 games. 2 games today. I'm doing it today, August 7th. And guess what that means? Guess what that means, ladies and gentlemen? The people in the chat room, the PATC community, you're going to have to make a selection. You're going to have to pick these 2 games. First week in college football, we're going to put up a poll. The PATC community You guys were as bad as I was last year, but this year, this year, this year, this year, this year, Greg the Gold. I got 2 locks right off the bat, baby. Let's go. That's last year, baby. That is last year. It is this year that matters. Okay, here we go. We've got a stack show. So we're going to do 2 picks. We're going to lead off our monologue just real quick. Going over Michigan, Jim Harbaugh. We're going over the breaking news today. Got some show... He's got some penalties, some what you want to call a suspension. We're going to go through that story real quick. Then we're going to get to grade the Gold's picks in your picks. We're not doing all of week 1. We're just doing 2 games. 2 games. We're doing Florida State and Georgia Tech. And we're doing Notre Dame and Texas A&M. We're going to leave the other week 1 games. We're going to wait. We're going to wait for a couple more weeks. But today I just we're going to do 2 games. I want to get one of these games in before the line changes because I think it's going to go against me. And the host, this is one of the advantages I have. I'm going to rush the bid. I am going to rush the bid. I am so excited. This game is a 5-star Greg the Gold lock. And I want to lock it in before that number goes up. And I know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you know what game I'm talking about. And then we're going to do Florida State and Georgia Tech. And I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle on that game. I'm going to first ask the PATC community, do you want to do what we usually do? Do you want to pick against the spread? The number is 13. Seminoles are minus 13. Georgia Tech is plus 13. Do you want to take that or do you want to take the over-under? That's the first question I'm going to ask you. Because I'm going to take the over-under line on that game. Because it's also another 5-star Greg the Gold lock. But if you all want to do the other, you want to do the plus 13 or minus 13, I'm going to give you that option. Last year, when I took an over and under, I forced you all to make the same pick, either over or under. It could be a different pick than I made, but I want to give you guys the option this year. I am not touching the Seminoles minus 13. I am not touching the Rambling Wreck of Georgia Tech plus 13. I think that line is, pretty good. I think Vegas, I'm not touching it. But I am doing the over-under line. But I'm going to give you guys that option. And then we're going to talk about the Louisville Cardinals. We have here at Peek Around the Corner. And we did this a few days ago while I was on vacation. I did not want to lead this. I did not want to start. I didn't want to come back and do this show on a Tuesday talking about this subject. For one, I had 1 hour of sleep for about a day, about 2.5 days. But I wanted to clean up aisle 5 on yesterday's show. No, there is no misinformation campaign going on. No coordination. But now that I did that, now we can break some news here at Peek Around the Corner. We can break some news here at Peek Around the Corner. We actually got this confirmed while I was on vacation. But we're going to break it to you now, August 7th. We can confirm independently. We're not the first one. Okay, this is not breaking news. We're not the first ones. We are not the first ones here at Peek Around the Corner giving this out. Definitely not the first ones. But we have independently confirmed that there has been extensive third-party talks, not first-party talks. However, we're going to circle back to this at the back end of the monologue. There has been extensive third-party talks. A little bit, I would categorize these third-party talks as extensive. I'm just going to use that word for now. Between Louisville and people who would represent Louisville's interest with those who would represent Big 12's interest, but not direct representation of the Big 12. Allegedly. Whew. Not first party talks. We have this confirmed. And this I don't want to do this because I don't want to be comparing this story with any other stories because it's not the same. What's going on in the ACC, the cloak and dagger that is going on in the ACC is not the same cloak and dagger between USC and the Big Ten that we broke. It's not the same. It's not the same cloak and dagger as Oklahoma and Texas. It's not the same cloak and dagger that was going on with the Big 12 and the Pac-12. It's not the same. It's a different story. Different elements. No first-party talks are going on. It's a different story. Having said that, I know most of the PATC community. I know most of the PATC community is mature enough, intelligent enough. You guys are sickos. I know you guys can understand this when I say this. Louisville is Colorado. Louisville is Colorado. Louisville has walked all the way up to the first row in the Holy Smokes Theater, and they're sitting in the first row with Miami. And Clemson and Florida State, again, are the only two schools at the center of the stage. Petiti and Greg Sankey, as we announced on June 15th, they walked out of the Holy Smokes Theater. They have not come back in yet. Brett Yormark has yet to enter the building. But Louisville has. And they've gone all the way up to the first row for the very first time, and they're sitting next to Miami. Louisville is Colorado. Not in the sense. Okay, let me back up. Remember in the Big 12, in the Holy Smokes Theater, we had Colorado at the center of the stage. From day one, we never moved them. They were always the tip of the spear. Louisville's not the tip of the spear in this saga. So they're not Colorado in that aspect. But they are Colorado in very important aspect to the story. Louisville is the most, as we have learned, people that chatter behind the curtain, and we have independently confirmed third-party talks between Louisville and the Big 12. Louisville is the most willing partner if the dominoes fall in their favor to join the Big 12. And we're going to go over what it would need for the dominoes to fall in their favor. Of course, the biggest dominoes are Florida State and Clemson, without a shadow of a doubt. But Louisville it looks to be a willing partner with no historic ties to Tobacco Road, to those universities. Louisville with the money. They don't want to get left behind. There seems to be a willingness at Louisville, both sides of the equation, both sides of the river. And so we're going to talk about those third-party talks. Those third-party talks between the Big 12 and Louisville did not just happen last week or the week prior or the week prior. So it's not something that just happened. But it is something that we now can, without a shadow of a doubt, independently confirm that they did happen. And they were, I would say, uniquely extensive for third-party talks, allegedly. And it is more indications, and this is why I was so strong again yesterday on this. The Big 12 is building out options for expansion. There are schools in the ACC that are building out options if the ACC implodes by victory in the courts or by a settlement from Florida State and Clemson. Louisville is one of those schools. It is the school that is the most willing to move if certain things occur. The Big 12 option is a live one. It's alive. It's alive. Even for Florida State and Clemson, that option is alive. It's not the one that Florida State and Clemson wants. It's not the one that it's not the top option that they're working towards to. Clemson and Florida State wants to be able to create a complete implosion in the ACC that would help their chances, their odds to go to the SEC or to go to the Big Ten. And I have said recently that Florida State and Clemson, if there is a big enough barrier for other ACC schools to move to the Big 12, maybe nobody else will go with Florida State and Clemson But then Louisville, the information independently given to us in duplicate form, we know that Louisville is definitely building out a potential option. So is the Big 12. And Louisville is looking at this as not the first school out, but as the third school out of the ACC going to the Big 12. So we're going to talk about that. So we have got a stacked show. First of all, I want to say thank you for everybody joining us today. Let me get to very generous, Ricky, very generous, gifted membership once again. Holy smokes. Thank you so very much. Ricky, and let's see who, I don't know who got the gift membership, but whoever got the gift membership, please say thank you to Ricky. Ricky, you are hereby knighted, and who was ever given the gift membership, you are knighted, cloak and dagger, once again. Thank you so very much. By the way, for members, Early Peak Cloak and Dagger, members of the show, we dropped episode 44 this morning. We don't really advertise our Early Peak Cloak and Dagger episodes. They just kind of drop. You got to go search our channel. You got to check us out. I don't really advertise like I advertise the episodes that go out to everybody or the live shows. We dropped episode 44. So for everybody that is watching the show, remember, after this live show, go to episode 44 because we're not going to be talking about it. What I dropped on episode 44, we're not going to be talking about it on this live show. We'll probably talk about it on our live show tomorrow. But for the members, you get the early drop on some significant nuggets of information. We dropped it some on episode 44 today. So Ricky and whoever was gifted that membership, go and watch that episode later on. For those who want to become a member, who are not a member of our show, go to the link provided in the description box below the video. Hit the link, hit the join button, and become a member of our show, Early Peak Cloak and Dagger member. Thank you, Ricky. I appreciate it. Stephen McNeely, thank you so much for becoming 8 months a member of this show. Holy smokes. Pac-12 and ACC like to badmouth the Big 12, and yet the Big 12 will be the last one standing. Interesting. I think maybe the ACC, some form of the ACC is going to stand at the end of all this. But I understand what you're talking about, Stephen McNeely. Thank you so much for becoming a member for the 8 months. Holy smokes. Thank you so very much for your generosity, Stephen. We also have a super chat that has come in early on. Glad you're back, Ricky. Thank you so much for your incredible generosity support, helping us keep the lights on so we can do this live show almost every single day of the week, the month, and the year. Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate it so very much. Before we get on here, August 15th, something is happening. I don't think anything is happening, and I don't believe it's important. I really don't. Look, if Clemson and Florida State announce that they're leaving the conference, if they're filing their notice of withdrawal on or before August 15th, if they do that, I will start that live show that day. I will come on here and I will take the big L because I've been saying for months that they're not going to do it. Not this August 15th. I will do what others won't do. And I will come on this show and I will take the big L, the big loss. That's number one. And number two, if it does happen, it's a big story. It is. It is. It's going to be emotional for Clemson fans and Florida State. There's going to be reaction from other ACC fan bases, and we're going to cover it. We're going to open up the phone line for hours. You guys can call in, give me a hard time that I got it wrong. Do whatever you want. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Never have. It doesn't make sense. There's no logical sense to it. It does not help their court cases. It does not help Florida State and Clemson's court cases. That's number one. Number two, and as we talked about it yesterday on our live show, this is not a question of when. Florida State and Clemson are going to leave the ACC at some point. Most likely, 95% chance, whatever. They're getting out. I've been talking about this since December 26, 2022. And I thought the question of when was important. I thought it was. But it's not. Most people are still think that's the most important part of the story. And I'm trying to convince you all that, no, it's not. The question is how? How does it happen? Because the how, not the when, the how impacts what happens to the future of the ACC. Who will remain in the ACC? Who has to remain in the ACC? What do those schools in the ACC get out of whoever leaves the ACC? The how determines what Florida State, the options that Florida State and Clemson are going to have once they leave the ACC. What options are going to be available to them? If it's a big enough number, if it's a huge number, does the Big 12 taking care of some of that cost of Florida State and Clemson leaving the ACC? Will that play a part? If there's only going to be 2 to 4 schools leaving the ACC, is the Big 10 and the SEC even going to be interested if North Carolina is not part of the equation? We on June 15th, we reported to you. Before that as well. But after that, for a month before the national reporters started putting out their articles, for an entire month, we said the Big Ten would rather just sit back and wait another year. And North Carolina and Notre Dame would be their top targets. We told you for an entire month that the SEC would rather just circle their wagons around North Carolina. And that this left a situation for Florida State and Clemson where they know from all the work that the Seminoles and Tigers have done, they know that they have to build out another option. And that's what they're doing with the Big 12. It's not their first option. And it may not be where they end up. But they're building that option out. They're not just doing one thing. Florida State isn't like, well, golly gee whiz, guys. Golly gee whiz. Golly gee whiz. If we don't make it into the Big Ten, if the Big Ten don't accept us, we're not going to the SEC. Nah, they screwed us. The SEC screwed us. ESPN, you saw what ESPN said about our lawyers? We're not going to the SEC, and we're not going to the Big 12. Florida State isn't doing that. They're building out their options. They don't have an invitation, an offer to the SEC. They don't have an invitation, an offer to the Big 10. They don't have an invitation, an offer to the Big 12. But they're building out their options. So it ain't so much when this is going to happen. The important part of the story is how does it happen? By a shattering victory in the courts, or a big old check that Clemson and Florida State are going to write to the ACC. How it happens will set the table for the rest of the story, not when. When is this August 15th? It really isn't important at all. And I know that, a lot of people, well, geez, we've been waiting forever to get out of this conference. And if Florida State does not rise up and file that notice of withdrawal, that means they're caving in. That means their leadership doesn't really care. That means their leadership has failed. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Nobody that I talk to is anticipating Florida State to file a notice of withdrawal on or before August 15th. I've been saying that for months. It's all I can do, guys. It's all I can do is pass along to you the peek around the corner. And if it does happen, I'm going to be the first one on here taking the big L. But I don't think it's going to happen, guys. And I don't think it's that big a deal. Now, I know on August 16th, when we do a live show, or late in the evening on August 15th, people are going to be commenting or giving me a call saying, aha, Florida State, they're never going to leave. They chickened out. People are going to be taking shots at Florida State. And I'm going to be saying, why? This Florida State should not be getting any elbows on August 16th. Like filing a notice of withdrawal when they don't know when they're going to have their media rights was never part of the plan. And I know a bunch of Florida State insiders are saying, well, that fat guy from Minnesota doesn't know anything. Okay, fine. Fine. I'll talk to you on August 16th. But I'm not going to be taking shots at Florida State because, again, they know what is important. It's not the when, it's how the implosion happens. Anyways, we got a lot to get to. I want to say thanks to everybody for coming on in here. I know I've missed a lot of people. Patrick, thank you. Mark Tech, Lego Gators, Dog, Secret Agent, Will J, Cat's Claw, Jeff Morgan, Bobby Hampson, the infamous frontrunner. Son of Sarek is in the house. CFP Plus, LFG, T-Duck. Steven is in the house. Louisville, Cincinnati, 100 miles apart. The Keg of Nails. Tumasta, Daniel Gorby, Richard L., Colorado Buffalo. Bo Weevil is in the house. Miami is in the front row. Yes. LFG, Terry Kane. I missed a bunch of people. I do apologize. Cameron B., Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, Go Black 45, Ryan Brooks, Gold, Tagas, John Grove, Carlton Hurdle. Glad you're back, Greg. I'm glad you're back, Carlton. I'm glad that people are here. Forgive my insufficient enthusiasm for used car sales head coach Fleck. Fleck has done a great job as head coach. You call him a used car salesman, you call him the fat guy from Minnesota heart surgeon, whatever you want to call PJ Fleck, he's done a great job as the head coach in college football, Minnesota and Western Michigan. Okay, let's get to it. First of all, Greg the Gold. Florida State, Georgia Tech. Minus 13, plus 13, over and under 56. We are going to update the Holy Smokes Theater. We'll talk about that later. But first of all, the first question I have to ask, does PATC community want to pick the spread of the game instead of over under? So do you guys understand the question? I'm not asking you what team you're taking. Are you going over or under? I'm asking you, do you want to pick the spread of the game instead of over and under? So if you say yes, you want to pick Florida State or Georgia Tech minus 13 or plus 13. If you say no, you want to bet on the over-under part of the game. Yes, the spread, the point spread. Yes is point spread. No, you want to do over and under. Yes is point spread. No is over and under. The poll starts now. Yes is point spread. No is over and under. Yes is point spread. No is over and under. What do you want to do with this game? Florida State and Georgia Tech. Yes is point spread. No is over and under. We're going to give 10 more seconds to the PATC community. Today, I know it's only August 7th, but we're going to put down our official picks for the first two games of the season. So this is official. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 71% says you want to pick the point spread of this game. Okay. All right, but I'm taking the over-under on this game because it's an absolute lock. The PATC community. Here we go. This is your first pick of the season. Pick of the season. Florida State will cover minus 13 point spread versus Georgia Tech Yes, you're taking Florida State minus the 13. No, you're taking Georgia Tech. Yes, the Seminoles. No, the Rambling Wreck. There it is. There's the poll. This is PATC's first game of the year, the community. Yes is yes is Florida State. No, you're taking Georgia Tech. We're giving you guys 10 more seconds. 44 votes have come in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holy smokes. 71% takes Florida State 71% takes Florida State minus 13. The PATC community has spoken. Okay, now we're going to do your second game. And then I will make my official predictions. Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Does Texas A&M cover the minus 1 point spread versus Notre Dame Fighting Irish? Yes is Texas A&M. No is Notre Dame. Yes, Texas A&M. No, you're taking Notre Dame. No means you're taking Notre Dame plus 1. Yes means you're taking Texas A&M minus 1. After 46 votes, we have another landslide. We'll give everybody 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 75% takes Texas A&M to cover minus 1 point spread. Holy smokes. Neither vote was close. Now, these are my official predictions. Greg the Gold. Florida State and Georgia Tech. I commented on this play a couple weeks ago. Florida State, Georgia Tech, I am not touching that 13-point spread. It's a good spread, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good spread because eventually I think Georgia Tech is going to score some points in this game. And I completely respect the Seminoles defense. But I see a backdoor cover from Georgia Tech. I see some points being scored in this game. No question about it. DJ Ungale is going to settle in early. I think he's going to settle in very early. Kazee Holmes is going to have Lawrence Toafili. I still think that Portier is going to have a breakout season. The receiver, his career hasn't blossomed the way the Seminole fans thought maybe he would. They got the Alabama transfer, Malik Benson. Toafili is going to break out this game. I've got the over on 56. The over on 56. Jamal Haynes is going to have a big game. Haynes King is going to throw a big touchdown pass. He's also going to have a pick 6. The Seminoles are going to run it back on a pick 6. Georgia Tech's O-line. Remember, Georgia Tech's O-line. The offensive line returns 4 of their starters. They're going to score points. This is going to be a big scoring game. Florida State might win this game by a lot. And that, and of course you guys would cover as well. But I think over 56 is the bigger lock. So, Greg the Gold has the over 56. Notre Dame and Texas A&M. You all know where I'm going with this. Every one of you knows where I'm going with this. I've been talking about this game for months. I am going to thread the needle on this. Don't try to do this at home, ladies and gentlemen. Don't try to do this at home. I've got Notre Dame losing the first game of the season, but still making the playoffs. I got Texas A&M winning the first game of the season, not making the playoffs, finishing in 7th place in the SEC. But I've got Texas A&M covering -1.5. We're getting this game in now. I got a feeling that the Aggies line of -1 is going to jump. This is going to go to -2, -2.5. I know there's a lot of Notre Dame money out there. I know that, guys. I know that, guys and gals. But I think the Aggie money is going to go hard on Texas A&M. Notre Dame just lost their starting left tackle. Nick Scorton is going to crush Patrick Riley. There's going to be some defensive points put up on the scoreboard by Texas A&M. Shamir Turner, DJ Hicks, the defensive tackles of Texas A&M, they're going to... This ain't going to be the highest scoring game. This ain't going to be Florida State and Georgia Tech. I'm not going to touch the over line of 47.5. Texas A&M is going to win this game. And it's going to be a touchdown, possibly. A field goal will do it. Texas A&M -1, 5-star Greg the Gold Lock. There it is, baby. 2-0 to start this season. 2-0. Florida State, Georgia Tech over 56. Texas A&M -1 over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Baby. We're not going to talk about my record from last year, RT. No, that's in the rear view mirror, baby. This is Greg the Gold. Last year is we're not even going to, this is a whole different, we're using a whole different, our computer, our PATC computer, the algorithm is all different. We've changed it up. It's a new model. It's a 2020. It's completely, we're using different data. So, we're using different data. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Okay, so we got that taken care of. Let's hit the, before we get to your phone calls, we've still got to go through the Michigan story, and then we're going to cover the Louisville Big 12 third-party talks, extensive third-party talks. We're going to give you what we know and what we can deliver to you all. But here's a story, the Michigan Insider. You guys all know the story by now. Former Michigan football coach Jim Harbaugh went out a winner. Now, this is from the Michigan Insider. Helping Michigan to a 15-0 season, third straight Big Ten title, national title. Evidently, the NCAA wants Harbaugh to stay there for a few years. Whether Harbaugh had any interest in returning to college game or not, this morning, the NCAA delivered Harbaugh a 4-year show cause penalty. According to the NCAA's release, Harbaugh violated recruiting and inducement rules, engaged in unethical conduct, and this is the big part, failed to promote an atmosphere of compliance and violated head coach responsibility obligations. This penalty is related to the NCAA's investigation into 4 Level 2 recruiting and contact violations during the COVID-19 pandemic, not the NCAA's separate investigation into alleged improper advanced scouting. The first investigation, often referred to by Michigan fans as Burgergate, was already resolved between Michigan and the NCAA, resulting in 3 years of probation for the school, a fine and recruiting restrictions, and alignment with Level 1 mitigated classification for the school. So Burgergate, that's already been dealt with. But then Harbaugh allegedly continued to exhibit unethical conduct and failure to cooperate with the membership's infraction process. Specifically, his provision of false or misleading information was hit with a separate penalty. As the NCAA wrote, this separate penalty, Harbaugh was not part of that agreement, so his case was resolved separately from Burgergate. This is a different unethical violation, not dealing with the process, membership process, ethically, right? The panel noted, the NCAA noted that Harbaugh's intentional disregard for NCAA legislation and unethical conduct amplified the severity of the case and prompted the panel to classify Harbaugh's case as Level 1, aggravated with penalties, to include a 4-year show cause order. Show cause order is basically a 1-season suspension for Harbaugh, but if somebody wanted to hire Harbaugh, there's a lot of activities Harbaugh could not do as the head coach of a college football team for the next 3 years. Well, that's not going to happen because Harbaugh is going to be in the NFL. A lot of different takes on this. I'm going to give you my take. I thought this was a pretty big hammer, to be honest with you. I was not expecting 4-year show cause. I was not expecting much on this particular investigation of Jim Harbaugh's alleged, I would consider confirmed, inability, or he did not want to cooperate with anything that the NCAA was investigating. I thought this was a pretty big hammer. Now, is it going to affect Jim Harbaugh? Because no, it's not, because he's going to be in the NFL. But I don't think there was much more that the NCAA could do. But having this as part of the record, we had Burgergate, we have this. I think it's important to have it down on record, because a continuous violation from somebody representing a school, which Jim Harbaugh represented Michigan, those separate violations can and probably will equal a larger hammer to the investigation that is coming to a close, and we're going to learn the results of it pretty soon, the in-person scouting scandal at Michigan. So I think this was important. Not because it does really anything to Jim Harbaugh. He's out there. He's in the NFL. But it does have impact on Michigan. I do not believe that Michigan is going to be, I don't think they're going to have to vacate their national championship. It's not going there. What is the penalty for Michigan from this in-person scouting? I do not know. This is complete speculation on my part. Nobody has told me anything. There is no inside person that I know of that could even It's all speculation from my end of it. I don't know anything. My guess is that Michigan athletic department is going to be given a large fine. And I think that it is possible, very possible, that Michigan will get a 1-year postseason ban. Not for 2024, but maybe for 2025. But I don't think they're going to be vacating the national championship. I don't think they're going to take away national championship from Michigan. There are players that played in it. And remember, when you vacate wins, like Kentucky just did, when you vacate wins, other schools don't get those victories, right? Those schools that lost to Kentucky in the year that they're vacating the wins for what they did, those schools are not gaining a win. So if Michigan vacated something, no one is going to obtain the national championship of 2023. And I don't believe the NCAA is not going to have a national champion for 2023. I don't think it's just going to be vacated. I believe Michigan, they won the championship. They're going to be they are the reigning, defending champions. And I think that's going to continue on. But a big fine, some sort of postseason ban, maybe a loss of scholarships, which does nothing, especially in this era of football programs gaining more scholarships. But maybe there's some of that. Maybe some tight recruiting guardrails that they're going to have to abide by. A punishment is going to come down in Michigan from the NCAA. What that is, I do not know. And it's not going to be enough for a lot of people. And the punishment is going to be too much for most of the Michigan fan base. So we'll see what happens. I thought Tony Petitti did everything he possibly could, given this time constraint, given his authority, limited authority. I think Tony Petitti did exactly what he could do and needed to do. But now let's see what the NCAA does. I think they're going to put a pretty big hammer on Michigan. But I don't think there's going to be no one is going to, Michigan they are the 2023 national champions. Put down your comments. Give me a call later in the show. Let me know how wrong I got it. Either way, if you're pro-Michigan, anti-Michigan, let me know how wrong I got it. Louisville, Big 12. And then we're going to get your phone calls. Let me check real quick here. I do have okay. We can confirm, as we've said at the beginning of the show today, Wednesday, August 7th, that Louisville and the Big 12 have had extensive third-party talks. Not first-party talks. Not Brett Yormark. Not representatives of Louisville. Not direct representative of Louisville. Not ones that get a check from Louisville, as far as we know. But these talks were extensive. This is a it's kind of a delicate subject. It's not as delicate as, remember last year when I talked about the hot bubble of action, when I knew that there was a meeting that was going to happen, that was scheduled to happen between Colorado and the Big 12 in Chicago on May 7th, on a Sunday. I started talking about this hot bubble of action on April 28th. I described certain things to you all, but I couldn't say there was a meeting that was going to happen. I said April 28th to May 17th, hot bubble, something was going to happen. Then on May 8th, on a live show, I said that the Pac-12 got a shot to the solar plexus because we got it confirmed that the meeting actually happened between Colorado, Big 12, between Brett Yormark, Colorado's athletic director, George, the president of Colorado. They were all there. We knew the city. We knew the day. We knew how long the meeting went. It went 90 minutes. We knew the reasons why it could not happen a week prior. We knew the reasons why it couldn't happen a week later because there were scheduling conflicts with certain people who were at the table in regards to the family, in regards to graduations of college of their kids, in regards to weddings. We knew so much information that we could not give up at the time. It was delicate. But I could tell you on May 8th that Pac-12 got a shot to the solar plexus. And then we kept giving you sensitive information in a way that we could tell you that this was big stuff that was going on, that wasn't going to hurt, we weren't going to burn anybody, and that we could keep harvesting the field, and that we could keep giving you information. This is not as sensitive as that, because this is third-party talks. There is no Brett Yormark at this meeting. There is no Louisville president at this meeting. However, it's still sensitive to where reporters are not going to really talk about it. They're just not. We at Peek Around the Corner, the rebel outpost of all college football YouTube channels, we're also going to be responsible. We're going to be responsible. But we can push it a little bit more. And that's what we're going to do. These third-party talks, okay, how do I say this? Allegedly, are just a little bit different than what you would expect. This is third-party talks turbo-charged. This is third-party talks with more juice than usually what they are. And the reasons for it is again, Most people are not going to want to understand what I'm about to say. They don't want to believe it. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, you don't have to believe anything we're saying. You can take it, I say, take it however you want it. Just historically, you can see that maybe you should have taken it the way that I presented it. But I'll leave that up to you. The reason why these are third-party talks that are juiced is if Florida State and Clemson, if they have received enough information through the Big Ten and the SEC third-party talks, which would tell them that maybe they're not exactly the top targets and there's not a whole lot of interest unless a big implosion happens. If Florida State and Clemson have received enough information on that, and we think they have, and if another option has been presented to Florida State and Clemson in which they could buy into politically, internally, mathematically, when it comes to getting their some of their cost to leave the ACC taken care of by a different entity, whatever it is, a combination of all these variables. If Florida State and Clemson are actually going to present a scenario to the ACC in which they say, we're willing to spend this much, maybe not them personally, but we're willing to give you this much to the ACC, we're out. Before Florida State and Clemson can commit to that road, they've got to know that somebody somewhere is committed to fraying the cost of going down that road. And I know I'm saying this in a confusing way, but I want to be careful here, allegedly, that these third-party talks are extensive and full of juice, because if Florida State and Clemson are building out this option, and they are, they're going to need more. They're going to need more out of these historically third-party talks. They're going to need more than what your historic third-party talks can give you. They're going to need more assurances. They're going to need more juice. They can't talk to Brett Yormark. They can't talk to certain people in the Big 12. But they also need to make sure that this is a true option that has some advantages built into it that Florida State and Clemson, that would make it worth their while to go down a road of settling with the ACC. You're coming in loud and clear. Well, Vox, you may be the only one that I don't blame anybody here. These talks, now I know we have a whole bunch of people who believe these talks are not even happening. Or if they're happening, it doesn't really matter because it's really not an option. It is an option. Florida State is building out. They're trying to get into the Florida State, Clemson. They're trying to get into the SEC and the Big Ten. They're trying to get into the SEC and the Big Ten. But then there's also this issue of, do they want to wait 3 or 4 years? By that time, it may be too late. There's so many appeal processes built into this in the court system. ACC has no incentive, none whatsoever, to make a deal unless it's for big money with Florida State and Clemson. Of course, there's people who believe that the whole Gore thing all disappears in February, but that's not what people believe that we're talking to. That's not that's why these options are being built out. That's why the Big 12 option, while it's not number one for Florida State and Clemson, no way, no how, but it's a live one. It's an absolute live one. In Louisville, the information that we have received, we can independently confirm the Big 12 Louisville talks is based on, we know they happened. We know they were extensive. It was not a 5-minute meet and greet between the Big 12 and Louisville. So what does that mean? Louisville is looking at the landscape. They don't have real ties to Tobacco Road. They're looking at the possibility. They were not invited to the Magnificent Seven. But Louisville is willing to be Colorado. They are Colorado. They are the most willing, as we have been explained to us, the most willing most willing ACC school, the most willing ACC school to move to the Big 12 if certain things happen. One, Florida State and Clemson obviously goes to the Big 12. Then, no matter what, supposedly the Big 12 perceives Louisville, and Louisville, I think, perceives that Louisville is willing to pay the price to move from the ACC to the Big 12. Louisville may not get the same deal if this actually happens. Louisville might not get the same deal, probably won't get the same deal from the Big 12 that a Florida State and Clemson would get. But Louisville is that next target because they are the most willing to pay the price, potentially, if Florida State and Clemson, if all that happens. Louisville having these extensive third-party talks with the Big 12 is an indication. And again, I'm okay with everybody disagreeing with me. This is not part of a misinformation campaign. Everybody can say, Greg, you're wrong. I'm good with that. But I'm not part of, there is no misinformation campaign coming. That's not what's happening here. But the Louisville Big 12 extensive third-party talks are an indication of Louisville. We know this, but I know this. Many more than myself know this, that Louisville sees the potentiality of eventually Florida State and Clemson settling with the ACC and going to the Big 12. This is what Louisville actually thinks this might happen. And they want to make sure that if that does happen, that things have been sort of laid out in front and that your mark would give them one of the first calls, if not the next call, if all that stuff should happen. So Louisville is being proactive. They think it's worth their while. They think they know what's going on. Louisville believes, most definitely believe, that there's been third-party talks between the Big 12 and Florida State and Clemson. So now Louisville is making sure that they and your mark are good, that they're good, right? Even though they're not talking to your mark directly right now, but that relationship building. So then Louisville will have their foot in the door. If the door cracks open, Louisville will have their foot in the door. It has happened. I do not know, Mayor McCheese, who is Louisville's required partner for the move. But I will say this. Reserve a chair. That's a good one. To Masta. Louisville's making sure that there is a chair, a table reserved for the Cardinals. Vox, they want to ensure their place in line. We're going to talk about Miami in a second. This show is not going to be about Miami or Virginia Tech or North Carolina State. For now, this is going to be about Louisville. I'm not going to confirm or deny anything else except for today, unless I have to do a breaking news story later tonight. Louisville has had extensive third-party talks with the Big 12. But I will say this about Miami. If Louisville is Colorado, Miami is Utah. If Louisville is Colorado, and they are in some ways, Miami is Utah. Somebody that the Big 12 would definitely want, but a university that definitely is not as willing as Louisville. But I'm not going to go any further on Miami today. I don't want to confirm it. We know other stuff, but I'm not going to go down those roads. Today I'm willing to talk about Louisville because there's a lot going on. There is not a misinformation campaign. There's a lot of cloak and dagger. But there hasn't been the cloak, like, and I'm going to open up the phone calls. There hasn't been a whole lot of cloaking. I mean, there has and there hasn't. Like, there is people who are in the arena knows where they stand. Florida State knows where they stand. They're going to keep working towards an invitation to the Big Ten and the SEC, but they know that they're not there. Even if they were open, even if they could leave tomorrow, it ain't quite happening right now. They're working on it. They're working on those relationships. They want to be a fit to the Big Ten. They want to have interest from the SEC. Clemson's not there either. They're just not there, and they know that. Everybody kind of knows what's going on. Really, they do. Louisville knows the situation, and there's Big 12 interest in Louisville, and they could have an option for Louisville, and they're working to make sure that they've got that chair reserved. And one of the most important, one of the most interesting part of this all, to me personally, it ain't going to be interesting to you. And then I'm going to open up to the phone lines. I'm going to open up the phone lines here in a second. And then you can talk anything about college football. You can talk about my over and under pick with Georgia Tech and Florida State. I got over 56. It's a lock. And I've got Texas A&M -1 against Notre Dame. You can talk about future games coming up. You can talk about the big news coming out of your August camp for your favorite team. But I just want to say this one more thing. What really has my antennas up, because this is not my first rodeo. Been doing this forever. These third-party talks are different. Usually things don't go like this. So it's one of the reasons, if not the biggest reason, why these third-party talks with the Big 12 spread like wildfire during the Big 12 media days. Now, other people are going to say, well, because it was the Big 12 putting out propaganda, putting out their information. It wasn't that. It was people were given like receipts. Like people knew, people found people like, oh yeah, this happened and this happened and this happened. And you could see, oh geez, the Big 12 is a part of this holy smokes theater that is going on right now. It's part of the drama. They are a live option. Because they're trying to do this and that and this. And when Jason Scheer, and I haven't talked to him about this, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but when he said there was a Big 12 internal belief that this and this could happen 12 to 18 months down the road, okay, I should not have brought Jason Scheer's name up. I haven't talked to him about it. I don't want to put words in his mouth. But this stuff is coming from so many different angles and sources that it's alive. It's a live option. And again, it all gets back to this. What happens after schools leave the ACC is not going to be determined on the when, it's going to be determined on the how. Florida State and Clemson are going to want to bust this thing up as cheap as possible, and then they're going to increase their chances to get to the Power 2 right away. But if that doesn't happen, if the cost is high, then Florida State and Clemson, the chances of them going to the Big 12 raises dramatically, and Louisville seems to be a willing partner to pay the freight. We're going to get to your phone calls right now. Ed Brooks, thank you so much for becoming a Cloak and Dagger Early Peak member. Thank you so very much. You are hereby knighted. Ed Brooks, thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Ricky, Steven, Ed, for your memberships. Ricky, thank you for your super chat, helping us keep the lights on. Let's get to the phone calls. The phone line is open. 763-260-1333. Am I being too hard on Michigan? Am I being too light on Michigan? Are my Greg the Gold picks, have they already gone pear-shaped? Am I already being Greg the Cooler once again? Louisville, third-party talks, extensive. We have separately confirmed that they did happen, and it was not a 5-minute meet and greet. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Let me get to your comments.
Call from
John Grove.
John Grove, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir.
Well, how are you doing today, Mr. Plugo?
I'm doing good. I'm more rested than yesterday. I'm feeling good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's great. It's great. It's glad to hear. I'm glad to hear your voice again. Let's just say that.
Well, you be like, not many people say that because my voice is very difficult to listen to. My speaking voice, my singing voice. So a lot of people, you'd be like one of only maybe of 12 humans on a planet of about 7 billion humans. There's only about 12 of you that would ever say that. So thank you, Mr. Grove. I appreciate it.
It's like 1,000 metal arcs galloping through the prairies or something like that.
Yeah, right.
I don't know unless if you throw cheese and meat onto it, then I don't know. I don't know. That's not what it's like, though. It's not what it's like, though. So you mentioned about Louisville potentially being the Colorado in this situation. Would it be more of Louisville being the first team to kind of cause everything to transpire with Clemson or Florida State, or would it be more so with Clemson and Florida State just being like the USC and UCLA announcing their departures when the settlements are here or there, or what happens with the lawsuits?
I probably should not have compared Louisville to anybody because this is a different storyline, completely different. But I'm only comparing the two because Colorado is the most willing of all the schools. They're just not. Yeah. But basically the comparison stops there. You know what? They have a little bit of Arizona in them as well. In other words, Arizona was always sitting there ready for Colorado. If Colorado moves, then Arizona was going to be moving next. We always had Arizona next to Colorado on the stage. And that's exactly what happened. So, Louisville is going to need Florida State and Clemson to make a settlement decision. If the number is high enough to where Florida State and Clemson are the only two that go out, and there's not much interest from the SEC and the Big Ten. And Louisville is one of those schools that is willing. They're going to be the most willing to pay the price. They're the most willing to move to the Big 12. So there's sort of a little bit of Arizona in them as well. But I probably shouldn't have even made the comparison because I'm probably just confusing the situation.
I mean, I'd consider more as a combination of Arizona and Colorado as the Arizona side of things. You're just trying to wait and see what happens with Clemson and Florida State. You're just waiting for them, in which that case they might be the Colorado here, where they will try to depart, and I mean maybe the whole thing goes into oblivion for the ACC. So I don't know. I mean, I guess that's a few good comparisons there. I didn't think about Arizona as well. And really, just one last question, just a pretty funny, entertaining question. What is the ultimate, like, what is your song preference what's your favorite song that you typically use? Is it because you use the Greg the Golden song occasionally? You also have the beat drum song at the beginning of every show. What's your show music? Like, what would be, like, rank your top?
What's my favorite music that I use?
Early peak music too.
Well, it's my watch party music.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's this one here. It gets me going when I start this, and we got a game that we're going to be doing a watch party on, and I know the chat room's filling up, and we're all going to be rooting for a certain team against each other. This music, it hits, man. It hits.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. Alrighty. Go ahead.
My watch parties, they don't get a whole. Last year we had some games that we got a lot of viewership, but mostly it's not many people. But I don't care. I do this because I love it. It's fun. Watch parties are fun. If I only get 20 people in the chat room, that's fine with me. We talk about the football game so a lot of people probably haven't even heard that music because most of the people in the chat probably have never been to one of our watch parties. But we do one or two every weekend during the year, and we have a lot of fun.
I mean, you said it yourself. We cover college football because we love college football.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And we cover everything. Yep.
Yeah, that's the same sentiment about us, and I'm sure not only you, but everybody who's currently in the PATC chat room as well. So, alrighty. I guess that's all I got for today. I'll call you once again. Have a great day, and God bless.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Grove. Finally tuned. Thank you for your super chat. I do appreciate it. Thank you for your generosity. Finally tuned, helping us keep the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner. Florida State and Clemson don't like the truck stop conference. Fine, keep driving and see how the independent road goes.
Call from
Movie Time Blues.
Movie Time Blues. Can you hold on for 1 second, please?
Sure.
I do appreciate it, sir. Kerry Gold knows, should we expect a lawsuit from Florida State versus the ACC soon? No. No, I don't believe so. No. I don't think we should expect any lawsuits happening. We've got 4 of them going on right now. We did have 5, but now one's been eliminated. Attorney General Moody has dismissed her case against the ACC. She got what she wanted. She got those documents. She got the media rights agreement, some that she could share. A lot of it's redacted. So that case has been dismissed, I think, officially of today. Maybe it happened yesterday. So now we're down to 4 lawsuits. We're down to Leon County, Pickens County, Mecklenburg County, ACC versus Florida State versus ACC, Clemson versus ACC, ACC versus Clemson. I don't expect any more. I mean, unless it comes from an attorney general. I don't expect any other university to jump on in. We have never thought there was going to be. We believed the Clemson was going to happen after Florida State, but we haven't gotten word. I don't see it happening. But thank you so much, Kerry Gold Knowles, for the super chat. I do believe these third-party talks are a big indication that if things go a certain way in regards to Florida State and Clemson settling with the ACC, at a higher number than what we would have all have expected a couple of months ago, that Louisville's making sure that they have a relationship that is built with certain people who have interests that are beholden to the Big 12. That's about the best way I can say it. Thank you so much for your incredible generosity. Carry Gold Nose once again to our channel. One more item I just want to get to. Anyways, go ahead, Movie Time Blues. Thanks for calling, man. Thanks for your patience. The floor is yours.
Yes. Before I get to the Louisville issue, I want to make a comment on the announcement on the 2nd when when the Big Ten Academic Alliance, they brought into 4 new schools.
Yeah.
But the UC system, if you know anything about the California system, they cooperate amongst each other a lot. So I found it interesting that UCLA was able to get in without getting pressure from the other schools in the UC system. So that's the part that I found interesting.
Well, they got pressure. I mean, they have to pay a calimony tax.
Right.
They have to pay money to California Berkeley every year, or at least for the next couple of years, because of all the pressure that they got from the Board of Regents. Maybe I'm misunderstanding your statement.
No, I'm not talking about the sports part. I'm talking about the academic alliance.
Well, I think they did, but it came out through the Board of Regents. But anyways,
All right. Now on Louisville, now remember that the Louisville has a connection to a lot of the old Big East football schools. When they joined the ACC, so I was thinking that if Louisville were to be more open to leaving, that they might have an effect on other schools like Pittsburgh or Syracuse or Miami, who have an association with Louisville through their past association in the Big East.
Maybe. Possibly. So we got confirmation of this at some point when I was on vacation with my wife. So I had plenty of time to go back and forth and talk with people. And a large part of Louisville being willing to pay a higher price than what many of us thought. If the dominoes fall a certain way, Louisville's the most willing school to make the jump, to pay the price, because they have what has been explained to us, they have no real ties to any of the Carolina, Virginia schools. They would be comfortable in the Big 12. They would have no institutional, internal, political bias against the Big 12 in their university. They would have a certain motivation to go to the Big 12. They'd be a fit in the Big 12. And I guess politically, they would be the most willing to do so. This is why they've had these extensive third-party talks. I want to make sure. I don't want to make it sound like nobody else has had third-party talks with the Big 12, other than Florida State, Clemson, and Louisville. I'm not saying that today. But the Louisville third-party talks with the Big 12 have been, and probably will continue to be so. They've been extensive. There has been real interest. There is a willingness to talk and to make sure that communication can be set up really quick with the Big 12 if something startling big shall happen in terms of Clemson and Florida State making a settlement here in the next year. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I understand the part about not having connections with the North Carolina schools, but neither do Pittsburgh and Syracuse.
Yeah,
if
those schools did not come up with in any of the conversations I've had, but you probably correct.
I'm not saying that they're going to, but you know, if the trends go a certain way, then maybe it will start to heat up because of the association between Pitt, Syracuse, and Louisville, and maybe with Virginia.
Yeah, could
because
be.
of the old rivalries between those four programs.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't yeah, I mean, does Louisville have a closer relationship with the schools that you mentioned? Probably than they do with the Virginia, North Carolina schools. I just don't know how much of a factor any of that is in regards to what's going on right now.
Okay.
All right?
Sure. No problem.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, Movie Time Blues. Call again, once again, sir.
Sure.
Thank you. Beautiful. Movie Time Blues, a long time. Movie Time Blues, a long time PATC community member. Thank you, Movie Time Blues.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, can you hold on for just a moment, please?
Sure.
I do appreciate it. D5 Terps, Mr. Terrapin, was Josh Pate's vibrating water cup thing ever revealed? Yes, it was. And Josh Pate was, as he explained it, it was the potentiality of Florida State and Clemson going to the Big 12. Having third-party talks. That's all. That's what it was. And previous, about 2 weeks before that water shaking from Josh Pate, we had reported that Clemson and Florida State have had third-party talks with the Big 12, and we got raked over the coals real hard. But we're not getting raked over the coals anymore on that. I think most people understand that has happened and the reasons why it did happen. It doesn't mean that Florida State and Clemson are going to end up in the Big 12. It means that Florida State and Clemson believe that maybe they should build up this option because it's a live one. And that's what Josh Pate was. That's what his water cup thing was all about. And Josh Pate also confirmed what we have been saying since June 15th. Josh Pate confirmed it 6 weeks later. That the Big Ten right now is real cool on Florida State. Josh Pate had a source that told him Florida State will not be going to the Big Ten. We haven't been told that. We have only been told that Florida State's cool. It's not in the Big Ten's top targets. Florida State's going to have to work on it, and they have been working on it to try to be a fit in the Big Ten. Josh Pate also revealed that the SEC wants North Carolina. That's who they're going after. So basically, Josh Pate's water cup thing was everything we've been reporting weeks before here at Peek Around the Corner. And now we are reporting independently. I know other people have talked about it. I know other people have reported on it. We're not the first ones. But we have independently confirmed multiple duplication, multiple sources, different angles, different ways. We have confirmed without a shadow of a doubt that Louisville and the Big 12 have had extensive, and that's the key word, third-party talks with the Big 12 just in case dominoes go a certain way. Ryan Thomas, thank you for your patience once again. Thank you for calling. My brother, the floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, you need to sing that song. It's from the 60s. There's something happening now. What it is ain't exactly clear.
Yeah. I might do that. Actually. I'm not going to be able to hit the notes, but when can I ever? That has never stopped me before, so I'll give that a try.
It hasn't, Greg, and you know what? I actually appreciate it when you do it. It's always nice. It's what makes the show fun. It's what makes it good. And, please, you will get no complaints from me. And, people on the show should hate me because I've paid and requested songs from you before, which you've sung.
Yes.
So I'm part of the problem.
You are part of the problem. You are part of the problem. You are part of the reason why there's bad singing going on by the host of this channel. Yes, you are. You are the problem. But go ahead, sir.
That's okay because, it's scientifically proven, Greg, that your singing is the only thing that scares off badgers.
Yeah. So what do you got to say, sir? Instead of giving me the elbow, what do you have to say? What's going on? What's going on at BYU's football camp? What's happening?
That to me is a mystery, Greg. I think the defense is going to be better than it was last year, but I have absolutely zero confidence in the offense this year. There's something stagnant with the coaching staff. As Cougar Nation will tell you on the message boards, I hate the offensive coordinator almost as much as you hate Badgers. I think to me it's going to be a tough year. I mean, the running back one is L.J. Martin. Is a pretty big guy and pretty good back. He's injured, and we don't know when he'll be back. He's practicing but non-contact, and then the two quarterbacks I have zero confidence in, either Retzloff or Bohannon. I mean, so I'm expecting this to be a pretty painful year on offense. I think we're going to be lucky if we get out of. I think we're going to be lucky if we get out of there with 4 or 5 wins. It could be a complete disaster. But I mean, right now it's just in the mode that I just think something needs to be shaken up.
So let's say the head coach gets released then. What are we like? It's okay. It's way too. This is very, very, very unprofessional of me, Ryan Thomas. But
go ahead. I'm an unprofessional person.
We're talking about an August 7th hot board for head coach of BYU. Is there a name out there that you would kind of just say right away, you throw out there and say?
There is an interesting thing. I don't know if they're willing to throw the money around to do it. You saw when Mark Pope left for Kentucky, they went out and got Kevin Young from the Phoenix Suns, and they paid, he was the top assistant there, and they paid big money for him. If they go the big money route, they might, I don't know if he'll take it, but I think maybe one possible target would be Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
So Kellen Moore is what? Kellen Moore is, he's LDS and his wife is from Utah, so there's a possibility that there could be an opportunity there. I think that's a long shot. I think he probably might have his eyes on a professional career in the NFL. Or not a professional coaching career in the NFL. He's already in his assistant. I know he's the OC for the Cowboys, but certainly there's more opportunity there for him in the NFL. I don't know. It just depends on kind of what kind of opportunities he wants to pursue. I mean, but if there were donors and people pulling up, that would probably be the guy they would do it for. As far as who else is out there, Bevel, who was the offensive coordinator for Seattle, I think still might be a potential person, but I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. That's the one thing. it's curious because we were kind of surprised because they kind of went all out on with basketball. So I mean, if they're willing to spend the money, it's anybody's guess. But I think it's just sort of to me. Something has to change in my mind, Greg, because the biggest problem I have is they had this offensive coordinator who. They had an O-line coach that was just completely terrible. I mean, people were transferring out left and right after 2022, and you had 2 years. It's like last year the offensive coordinator was complaining why he didn't understand why the O-line guys weren't blocking. Well, the guy's an idiot. I mean, Aaron Roderick, he's a good position coach, good quarterback coach, but he coaches in silos. You kind of let the offensive coordinator, offensive line coach go out there, Greg, and do his own show. And, it just never seemed like the units were on sync with each other. They just never seemed like they were on the same page. It's crazy. And there's no excuse for that. I mean, because that's the one thing that BYU has done, if you've noticed, Greg, before in the past with history of the program, the one thing that program can do is recruit offensive linemen. They've had some big boys.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had NFL-sized offensive lines for a long time. And, I don't understand why what's happened there. And it's frustrating
and they've got some players, man. They got they got that Cody Epps. He went in the portal, but he came back. They have Chase Roberts.
Yeah, but I mean, those receivers, Greg, can do those receivers can do absolutely nothing if the quarterback doesn't have time. I understand. In the
and you got a good running back, or at least he did good last year. LJ Martin.
But he's injured right now. We don't know when he's going to be back.
Yeah,
and I mean, they just did not do anything productive in the portal. And
when is Martin supposed to be back?
It's a mystery. I mean, he's in practice, but he's not doing contact.
Okay.
So
that's the information I'm looking for here. That's the information that Greg the Gold needs, Ryan Thomas.
Exactly, Greg, and I'm here to provide it to you.
Well, I need the Big 12 to do what the SEC and the Big 10 has done, where they provide injury reports 90 minutes before kickoff, because I need to know when BYU plays SMU on September 7th. I want to say 6th. When is it?
Friday night.
Okay, that's a Friday night. September 6th at SMU, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And BYU is historically 5-0 against SMU.
Okay.
So I'd like to keep that streak going to keep the SMU's fans' mouth shut. But
so that's not a conference game. So that example don't work. But I need the Big 12 and the ACC to both agree that they're going to have injury reports 90 minutes before kickoff. So when I do a watch party, BYU at SMU watch party Friday night, September 6th, and I probably will now that I'm thinking about it. I need to know, is Cody Epps okay? Is Chase Roberts is okay? If Lassiter is okay? If Jake's, how do you say his last name? Zatzlaff or whatever, the quarterback. I need to know if Martin, the running back, who had a really good year, I mean, he looked like he has potential. He almost averaged 5 yards a rush last year. He was good. Yeah, I need to know if those guys are healthy. So how can I, Greg the Gold, make a pick? Go ahead, sir.
That is your guess is as good as mine on that. But I will say this, Greg. Based on what's come out of practice, Bohannon might be the starter. Which, So apparently, during the off season, so John Beck, who was a quarterback about 20 years ago, and also played in the NFL, he coaches quarterbacks now. He's been working with Bohannon, and actually, they said that it's the first time he's ever actually had someone work with him, coaching on his mechanics. So they said that his spiral's gotten a lot tighter, and he's gotten a lot more accurate, and who knows? But the offense to me is a big question mark. I think they did get some good pickups in the transfer portal on defense, and I think the defense will be better. But I'm not really hopeful for the offense. I'm skeptical. I don't have a lot of faith, Greg. But I mean, that's all I got. But what I want, Greg, all I want is I want to go back to those days where they had, the late 2000s with those big offensive linemen and those running backs that could, pound the ball. That's all I want, Greg. That's all I want.
Got it.
All right. Take care, my friend.
You got it. Thanks, buddy. Talking BYU football.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Bye.
Football, love it. Talking football August 7th. We are only 17 days away from kickoff. Dublin, Ireland.
Call from
Immaculate.
Can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Sure.
I appreciate it. Michael Monk. Super chat for Greg and the community. Thank you so much for your kindness. Mr. Monk, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for helping us keep the lights on here. I appreciate the super chat. Holy smokes. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Immaculate, what do you got to say? Is there any more information coming out of the hot guy camp? What is going on? What do you think about any news that is happening, breaking in college football today?
I don't know anything else about Iowa. I mean, I think we're all just waiting here for the first game, right? But in terms of new news, I'm kind of interested to ask you something, if I may.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're pretty strong on these third-party talks going on, and it took you some time. You looked into it. Maybe you already shared this and I missed it, but is there any kind of a timeline as far as like how long ago these happened? Like, relatively speaking, I mean, was this recent or is this going back a little ways and took some time to know for sure?
The Louisville one was a while ago. And it did not, and we were able to confirm it only in the last 10 days. Oh. But it did not happen within the last 3 weeks, within the last month. It happened before that. The Clemson and Florida State third-party talks are not recent. Not recent as in definitely not within the last 6 weeks before that.
So would it be fair to kind of assume that these type of talks were about having multiple options? Because, I mean, we don't really know how things are going to line up in the future.
No, definitely not. Yep, you're right. It's just building
you need backup plans. You need
backup plans. Yep.
You got to prepare for all possibilities and all possible eventualities, and that's the kind of thing I feel like a broken record player at times, but until they get a full certification on that NCAA, we don't even know if we're going to have FBS and FCS be split in divisions. There's so much that we don't know. So I find that interesting, and I think your comparison is apt in that when people hear you compare Louisville to Colorado, they're probably thinking, oh, he's saying that they're going because Colorado went. But going back, I would say Colorado didn't really know for sure that they were leaving until, what would you say, almost near the end. Like it was probably just like a possibility. Like if things don't work out, if we don't get our deal with the pack,
they had first party talks where every last detail was talked about because they had a whole bunch of talks before then. That May 7th they had first party talks. And a couple weeks after that, Colorado, we reported at the time, eventually, okay, I'm getting everything. There was a point in time where Colorado gave questions to the Big 12, and the Big 12 said no to some of those requests. Colorado did get a bonus pay, but Colorado was asking for a certain level of guaranteed exposure in regards to OTAs or not OTAs, or maybe it was, but a certain level of exposure guaranteed built into their Big 12 conference schedule, and the Big 12 said no. So there's some things that the Big 12 said no to Colorado, some things they said yes. But it took from May 7th to July 27th, right, for it to finally officially happen, even after those extensive first-party talks. So, and these are third-party talks. So these are a little bit different, and because they're a little bit more extensive than what you normally. And at some point, this stuff is going to come out, just like the Colorado, all that stuff came out. So bear with us. More will come out.
Yeah, I don't know why someone would, when that context in mind, I'm not sure why someone would look at this and say they don't believe you. Not that I believe it. I believe that these have been happening for a while, and I do think it makes sense that Louisville would have been the first. They actually looked into joining the Big 12 at one point in time and were kind of turned down. Yeah. So I mean, I think culturally speaking for them, it would definitely be an alignment. And if the money was at least similar, you kind of got to look at it and say, oh, I get it. I get why they would be that first one. And you can draw a parallel to some degree to Colorado. They've always kind of been the outsider or long ways away from the pack. Culturally speaking, they might be pretty similar, and they get a lot of California students. But a lot of their history and rivalries and everything are with old Big 8 schools. So, and I think if Louisville was to join, you immediately look at that and say, West Virginia, Cincinnati. Immediately they would have some relationships there that you might argue they don't have in the ACC right now. Would you think otherwise to that?
What was that last part?
Well, they don't really have those kind of relationships in the ACC.
No, no, they don't. So, yeah. Internally, the politics internally would be a lot easier for Louisville to make the switch.
Yes. Yeah, they're kind of an outsider in the ACC, just kind of like Colorado is kind of an outsider in the pack. There's elements they get along, but they just never. I just don't think it's ever really clicked. So I find them interesting. I'm really curious about the timeline on that. If I could just say one thing to look forward to here before I sign off, and that's this Friday is the deadline for all these new parties that are getting involved in the House settlement situation. They have to all file by Friday. So I don't know if you're paying attention to that situation at all, but next week could be a big week. We'll see how that rolls.
You got it. Thanks, buddy.
Bye, buddy. Talk to you later.
Appreciate it. Joe Z, the Bee Gees. I know you weren't mentioning this to me directly. You were talking to somebody else in the chat. The last song rendition, the last PATC rendition we did here is we did ABBA, right? We did ABBA, If You Change Your Mind, right? The Bee Gees, there's a song from the Bee Gees.
Call from
CFP Plus.
I'm sorry, did not get your name?
CFP Plus.
Oh, yeah, CFB Plus. Can you hold on a second?
You're good.
I appreciate it. There is a song from the Bee Gees that back in the day, I'm just saying, back in the day, I used to, karaoke. I used to belt it out pretty good. I can't remember the title of it. It's You Don't Know What It's Like to Love Somebody. What's the title of that? Anyways, that's the song. That Bee Gees song. Now, I don't sing it quite in the same key as the Bee Gees do. In fact, it's a couple keys lower. But anyways, but there is a Bee Gees song that maybe, if I find the right situation, the right drama situation in college football, I will release an episode. We will do a PATC edition, and and Maria, who's in the chat room, Maria, tell the people, tell the PATC community that I sing that Bee Gees song quite a lot. You don't know what it's like to love some. I can't even remember the title of the song. You guys know what I'm talking about. Maria, you know I sing that song a lot. In fact, I sing it so much you get tired of me singing that song. But anyways, CFB Plus, thanks for calling. The floor is yours.
So I just have a quick clarification question.
Yeah.
Did you say earlier in the show that Louisville is under the impression that Florida State and Clemson will end up in the Big 12, or are they just planning in case that were to happen?
They are under the impression that Florida State and Clemson have had their third-party talks with the Big 12, and they know that is an option that could happen, and so they're building up their option just in case that happens.
Okay, so they're just doing their due diligence.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounded like, and I don't know.
Well, maybe I misspoke.
Know.
Obviously, Louisville doesn't know the future, but they think it could happen. Just like my Florida State money perch says, he thinks it's going to happen. It's a live shot. It's out there. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's Florida State is planning on getting to the Power 2. Clemson is planning on getting to the Power 2. They're also planning on the possibility that they might take a Big 12 route, and so is Louisville. People are planning a whole bunch of stuff out there. But this is live. This is true. This is happening. These third-party talks are happening, and they're more than just a meet and greet. They're extensive. They are extensive. So take it however you want it.
I mean, so the third-party talks for Louisville, that's really unsurprising. I think it's just there's more and more steam. There's more and more momentum around Florida State and Clemson ending up in the Big 12, which I remain skeptical of.
Mm-hmm.
But
yep.
That would be a huge change to the status quo almost.
Yep. No, and again, it's not what Clemson and Florida State are targeting. Right? So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I guess my second question is, so Florida State and Clemson, they need the ACC to implode in order to get that Power 2 sooner rather than later. What is that number of implosion? Because I am under the impression that no matter what, the ACC will survive in the name and maybe a collection of a few legacy schools. So
what's the number that Florida State and Clemson would really want to have happen to give them a better chance to get to the Power 2?
Yeah.
I would say more than 4 schools leaving.
So more than 4 schools leave.
I would say that money would have to be, we're talking, the cost of getting out, like $100 million, something like that. The ACC doesn't want that. Florida State and Clemson does. But yeah, an implosion of where more than 4 schools hit the free market, then you're going to see the ACC possibly lose a couple more, and then ESPN loses inventory, and then there's going to be some sort of domino effect where the Big Ten and the SEC might start being aggressive, and then that means that UNC might leave, and that means Florida State and Clemson might end up in the Power 2.
And you said earlier that if North Carolina leaves the ACC, that Notre Dame may have to start looking elsewhere for its non-football sports.
Yep.
Okay.
And their football.
Yeah. Because it sounds like if Florida State and Clemson, they buy out, they leave, whatever they need to do, then Louisville gets out. That's going to be hard. It's hard for me to see North Carolina and Virginia staying in the ACC when they know they have options to land in the Big Ten or the SEC.
Yeah, it's it would be hard for
and
me
then
to
if
see
Notre
that
Dame
as well,
leaves,
but then it
it's
depends
all
on
off.
how much money Florida State and Clemson and Louisville would have to pay under that scenario, and that could fill up the coffers of North. You know what I'm saying? They can maybe stretch it out to 2036. I don't know. But yeah, it's at that point in time, it becomes a tinderbox. So.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have. Thanks for the show. Glad you're back.
It.
Glad you got some time off.
You got it. You bet. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
You don't know what it's like to love somebody. That's the song I'm talking about. That's the one BG song that I can sing. Although Mireya Hernandez Garcia Flugar, the one who rules with an iron fist, is sick of me singing that song over the last 22 years of marriage. So I'm probably going to have to try to figure out to sing another Bee Gees song. But they're not the easiest songs to sing. To love somebody. There it is. There it is. Let's see. I got to make sure. I think we're going to close up our live show for today. I know we still got a couple hundred people, 250 people still in the chat room. Holy smokes. But I think we've been on the air for over 2 hours, 15 minutes. So I think we're going to close it up for now. But again, like always, make sure that you follow us at Flug Empire on X, formerly known as Twitter. Make sure you follow us because we sometimes give you a heads up. If there's breaking news tonight, we're going to come on live. If there's breaking news tomorrow morning, we're going to come on live. So you got to keep your head on a swivel. You have to subscribe to our channel and then open up your notifications. We don't come on a set time. Everybody else does. Every other college football YouTube channel schedules their shows. You know exactly when they're going to come on. But we are the rebel outpost of college football. We go where the story goes. We break the news. We follow the news. We report the news. We give you the chatter behind the curtain. We give you the peek around the corner on everything college football. So I cannot promise you a rose garden. I might have to come on live 15 minutes from now. I might have to turn everything off. I might have to go in to the kitchen, start cooking up dinner, breaking news. I have to tell the little general, I gotta go. I got to go. I got to go back into the Grace of God studios and do another live show. It's happened before. It's going to happen again. So if you want to be a part of this community, you've got to subscribe. You've got to keep your head on a swivel because you don't know what's going to happen next. Did any of you wake up to this morning and think that we were going to confirm the news that there were third-party talks between Louisville and the Big 12? It happened. It definitely, most definitely happened. Schools are building up their options just in case when it happens, that ACC implosion. So keep following us here at Peek Around the Corner. We're talking about college football today. Greg the Gold and you, PATC community, made our first 2 selections against the spread this year. Florida State and Georgia Tech. The PATC community, by a vote, 71% of the community took Florida State minus 13. PATC community has Florida State minus 13. Greg the Gold has the over 56 points for Florida State and Georgia Tech. The other game that we took, the PATC community, by 75% of the votes, selected Texas A&M. You all are taking the Aggies -1. Greg the Gold is also taking Texas A&M -1. We got this play in before that line changes. That line ain't going to stop. That line isn't going to just stay there at -1. That's going to pop. That's going to go to -1.5. That's going to go to -2, maybe even to -2.5. But we got it in. We got it in as -1, the PATC community. And Greg the Cooler, Greg the Gold. So we did our first selections. We talked about Michigan today. We talked some BYU football. 17 days away. Watch party. Florida State versus Georgia Tech. Dublin, Ireland. We're going to do it here at Peek Around the Corner. We're going to be doing a watch party that morning. So follow us. Come to us. I do have some other news I'll talk about later. But I was invited by the University of Minnesota Senior Athletic Director. The fat guy from Minnesota received an invite from the University of Minnesota Senior Associate Athletic Director to do food tasting, media member food tasting of the food that's going to be at Huntington Bank Stadium, Minnesota Golden Gopher football this year. That's going to happen August 23rd on a Friday. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be filming myself, the fat guy from Minnesota. I'm going to be putting food in my mouth. And only with my intelligent palate, I'm going to be able to describe to the people, the Golden Gopher family, how great the food is. Now, I'm not going to have a cheeseburger. I'm not going to mix the cheese with the meat. That's what I'm not going to do. But everything else, I'm going to lend my intelligent palate over to the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, and I'm going to be taping those episodes and showing them at a later time. Because Friday the 23rd, the next day, is August the 24th. That's football, Florida State and Georgia Tech. So anyways, we'll talk about more on that later. Thank you for everybody. Thank you for your contributions to the show, your generosity, helping us keep the lights on, your donations, your super chats, your membership. We dropped episode 44 in regarding the USC Notre Dame series. Is it going to continue on? Is it going to get canceled? We have some information on that. We dropped it in episode 44 today. Become a member. Go watch it. Episode 44. We'll talk about it later this week. So thank you for the new memberships. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for the comments in the comments section and the wonderful phone calls once again. PATC's wrapping it up for now, but if there's breaking news, we'll come on again. So keep your head on a swivel, subscribe to the channel, open up your notifications. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, 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 you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.